Welcome back to the Python for Beginners series. If you're new here, make sure to check out episode 1 where we covered what Python is and how to install it. Today we are going into one of the most essential topics in Python's variables and data types. By the end of this video, you'll know how to store and manage information in Python. So let's get straight into the video. First, let's talk about variables. So a variable is like a container that holds data. So I'm going to use this as an example. So look at this. Without this label, all right, we would not know what is inside. So now with the label, I know that there is a Nivea and it is a body cream inside this. All right, so it is like a label you stick on a box to identify what is inside. So in Python, you use variables to store data so you can use them later in the program. The first variable we are creating is the one that will store my name, Oluwatosin. So whenever people ask for my name or want to know my name, I want them to know it as Oluwatosin, right? So the variable we are trying to create now will be called name, while the input we are putting, what is contained in that name for me is Oluwatosin. I hope you get that according to the example I showed you. So we are just going to do name. All right, that's the name of the variable. You're first going to put whatever variable name you want to put, and then you put equals to. So equals to in this case is like the assignment operator. Okay, I'm assigning this value to this variable. Okay, this is the variable, this is the assignment operator, and then you're going to type in the value you want to give to the variable. In this case, I want to give Oluwatosin. All right, and this is it. We have it here: variable name, assignment operator, the value we are assigning to the variable. So anytime I call for name, it's going to tell me that it is Oluwatosin. So let's try to run that. I can either press this play button or you can just press shift enter. Okay, so it is now saved. Can you see? So let me come to this next line and type in name. If I run it now, can you see now it's telling me that this person is Oluwatosin, and that is how it works. Do you understand? So let's try to add more variables to it. So we can do age. So let's say I'm 12, and so let's say I want to know if the person is happy or not. We want to try like boolean data type. You don't need to worry yourself. We're still going to talk about that before the end of this video. So I can do something like, is she happy? Something like is happy to represent am I happy? And I'm going to do equals to true, because I am happy, obviously. So we just created 3 variables. The first variable is the name, which takes in my name. The second one is the age, which takes in my age value. And the third one asks if I'm happy. And yes, I am. So I've added true to it. So I'm going to explain the reason why I have added codes to this Oluwatosin, why I did not add code to this, and why this one is like a number, there's no code. So that is what we are going to explain better when we get to the data type. Do you understand? So let's run this, shift enter. I've run it. So I've called for the name Oluwatosin. So check for age. All right, can check for age. You see it's going to give me the age. But if I come here and I change this small letter A to capital letter A and I run it, it's going to throw me an error. So there are some naming conventions you have to put at the back of your mind whenever you're naming your variable, which I'm going to tell you all the naming convention shortly. When naming your variables, here are a few rules and best practices you should keep at the back of your mind. Number 1, variable names can only contain letters, numbers, and underscores. You cannot start your variable name with a number. It will not work. The second one is variable names are case sensitive. For example, if you write name in capital and name in small letter, they are 2 different variables. 3, use descriptive names to make your code easier to read. So whenever you are naming a variable, name it after whatever it is that is entailed in that variable. I just made an example of good variables named versus bad variable name. You can see first name. What comes to your mind when you hear first name as the variable? is that, okay, it is somebody's name and it's the person's first name, not the person's surname, right? So this is a good variable because it portrays what to expect inside the variable, like the container that you're going to check. And then we have total price. We know that, okay, maybe the person bought like list of things, like maybe 3 4 things, and they've already summed up the price. That gave us the total price, which is this. So for the variable name, we have a good knowledge of what we should expect inside the variable. But you see a bad variable name, this is just telling me X. I don't know what to expect inside X. X could be anything, right? And I eventually found out that it's the first name, it's somebody's first name, but the variable name is bad because I can't predict what will be inside it from the variable name. So naming your variable well makes it easier to read and understand what you're trying to portray when you're writing your code. So now let's use Python for like basic calculation. All right, so let's say we have X as a variable. Let's say X is let's say 23. Let's say Y is let's say 12. Okay, so we can now get the value for X plus Y. Like we want to sum both numbers together, so you can just you can write everything in the same code cell, like all your code in the same code cell. I'm just trying to break it down to make it explanatory and not confusing. So we can do X plus Y now. If you run, you can run everything together. It's going to give you 35. It just summed up 23, 12, which gave us 35, right? So you may be wondering that why don't we just say 23 plus 12 straight up, right? It's going to still give us the answer. But the reason why we are forced to declaring a variable is because we may need this number later on. So if it's the number that you keep working with, you understand? So you have to first save the number so that if I come to another code cell now, I can call for that number. X, what is the value of X? It's still going to give me. Let's say I still want to do X times Y. I still want to use the two numbers. I don't need to type the number all over again because I already declared it as a variable and I can keep calling for it in this in any of the code cells. Do you understand? Now let's talk about the 4 most common data types you use in Python. The first one, string, integers, floats, and booleans. These are the most common. So let's get straight into each one of it and understand how it works in the practical world. Let's go. So let's talk about strings now. I'm going to create a markdown just to like show you how to make comments in using Jupyter Notebook. So we are just going to do hash because I want to make it bold. So I'm just going to type strings because that's what we want to talk about now. I'm going to do shift enter. Can you see the way it's rotated? So we can also do data types first. You can put data types first before string. So string is a sequence of characters like words or sentences. So if I have ask, that is like it's just like alphabet. String are like alphabet, so in form of words or sentences. So whenever you have a string, it is always enclosed in either a single quote, like when I wrote Oluwatosin the other time. So you can either enclose it with a single quote, Oluwatosin, which is a string, or a double quote. So you can do a single quote or do a double quote. So let's say, what else should we use? Let's just say Ketsu. Can you see? So it can be anything as long as it is alphabets and it is like a word or sentence. So you can include it in a single or double quote. So that's how you identify string. So you can be consistent with the quote you are using. If you're using single quote, just stick to it. And if you want to use double quotes, just stick to it. So an integer is like a whole number, all right? It could be negative, it could be positive integer. So for example, let's say we have 67, we have 1, 2, 3. So numbers, like whole numbers, that's what we call integer. So you use integers to represent things like count, age, or maybe like ID when you start working like customer ID, staff ID that contains numbers, whole number 12. So 12 is like the integer. Do you understand? Okay, so let me change this. So you can see that this is a markdown. That's why it's not allowing me run it. So if you want to change it, If you don't know how to change it, you should check up the previous video before this where we had the introduction to Python. Okay, so now let's talk about floats. A float is a number, is also number. You see integer and float, they are both numbers, but integer is whole number while float has a decimal point. So whenever we have a number, let's say we want to record the sales price that somebody got, and the price for that goods is like $56.7. Do you understand? So that is float. Whenever it has a decimal point, it is float. Lastly, let's talk about booleans. Okay, so booleans represents one of two values, so it could either be true or it could be false. Okay, so they are often used to like check conditions in your code. So for example, if you want to know if somebody is a student, so you can do variable name is student, and if the person is a student, you can write true. If the person is not a student, you can write false. You can assign it to that variable. Are like the basic data types you work with in Python. They are like the building block of almost everything you're going to be doing. Now let's put everything together and create a simple program that uses variables and data type. Let's go. So the first thing we do is to store the variables. So let's store the values in variables. Okay, so let's go with the name, the one we did earlier, name Oluwatosin. Okay. Okay, I could have just copied it. Do I like Python? Yes, I do. So we're going to give it a boolean, which will be true, right? So now let's try to print. Now that we've stored our values in variables, we are going to write everything in the same code cell. So let's try to print the values. All right. So we're going to be using the print output statement, which is what we'll be going deep into in the next episode. We are going to see how we could input and give out output value. So just follow along with this example. So we're going to use the print statement. So you want to print, I want to tell the user that my name is Oluwatosin, right? Well, I already saved the variable. So I'm just going to do my name is, okay, so you want to add a comma here. Now I'm just calling for, instead of writing my name is Oluwatosin straight, all right, I can just call for the name variable. So I'll just type name. Okay, I hope you understand what we are doing here. So my name is, I could have just said Oluwatosin, but because I already saved a variable earlier which takes up my name, so I can just be calling the variable anytime I need to use it. On the next line, let's try to print another statement. So we can do print I am, then I'll do my age. The age I already saved, that's the variable. You can see when I'm typing it, it's already picking it that, okay, we have a variable called that. So I can do I am, it should give me my age, whatever age is stored here. So I want to add years old. So I am so number years old. Okay, let's add a full stop. You can see that I'm putting my text, my string data type in quotes, but this variable, because it's a variable and we are calling for it, you don't put it in quotes, right? So let's do for the last one, do I love Python? Let's say something like print, do I love Python? Do I love Python? Question mark. So we are done writing the string, then you had a comma, and then you print the value. So the variable for this one is loves Python. So let's just call for that variable. So do I love Python is going to give me my value. So let's just run this and see what we have. Can you see now? This is the result, because this is the value we are printing. This is what it's going to show us, and this is where we store the variable. So you can see now it's showing that my name is, it went here to get the name because we already have it saved as a variable. So my name is Oluwatosin. I am 12 years old. Do I love Python? True. Yes, I do. So you can also do this in a single print query statement, but let's leave it at this for now. So let's move on to the challenge.
Challenge time! Here is your challenge for this episode. You write a Python program that 1. Stores your name as a string, 2. Stores your age as an integer, 3. Stores whether you love Python as a boolean, and lastly, print all the value in a structured sentence like this. Once you've completed it, share your program in the comments below or tag me on LinkedIn, Twitter. I'm going to drop my handles in the description. Tag me so I know we are progressing together and we are getting this Python done. I'd love to see what you come up with. That is all for episode 2. In the next episode, we'll go into basic input output. So that is where you can take inputs from user, save it inside a variable, and then print out an output. Okay, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and share it with anyone who wants to learn Python. See you next time, and bye.